Welcome to what will almost surely be my very well documented descent into insanity. So I have entered into the US Aeropress Championship. This will be my first coffee championship ever. As you can see, I've bought a lot of things to prepare, but at the end of the day, I'm treating this as kind of a trial run. I really don't know what to expect. Whatever happens, it'll be a good experience. It'll be a solid learning experience, and I'll get to just get a taste of what it's like to be a part of these things. I'll just give you a rundown of the supplies that I got. I had similar versions of all of these things previously, but none that were adequate, none that were very upgraded. So I got a ton more scale. I got 3 of these fellow carafes, and I got something I've been wanting forever, this Hario temperature controlled gooseneck kettle. And I'm gonna be unboxing all of this stuff right now. To start my training off is to just do a base simple Aeropress recipe. I was combing through all of my records and I had not written down what I used to do. I used to make Aeropress coffee every single morning prior to getting this espresso machine, and then when I got the espresso machine, I went so deep down that rabbit hole that I started really neglecting my other brewing methods. But from what I remember, what I have written down here just now is a 30 grind setting on the Comandante, 90 degrees Celsius on the water, 15 grams in, 150 grams out in 90 seconds. I am 90% sure that that was my recipe. Even if it wasn't, this will be a really good base tester. So we're gonna be using Tropical Weather by Onyx Coffee Lab. The competition will be at Onyx, so I'm assuming that this will be kind of in the realm of the competition beans. We'll see. This is still pretty hot. What I'm planning on doing with the other carafe is pouring back and forth just to get this down to a little bit more of a suitable temperature for tasting. But for now, we're just gonna swirl this in its carafe a little bit and pour it into another cup and give it a try. Okay, really good. There is definitely a notable bitterness to this though. I would be reluctant to push my grind size any coarser since 30 on the Comandante is already fairly coarse. What I'm going to do is pull the temperature down maybe to 85 Celsius next time. And this does taste a little bit hollow and watery, so I might bring my dose of grounds up, but keep the same yield, keep the same amount of water. We're back. It's another day. Let's keep going. So last time I said that the 90 degrees Celsius temperature water produced coffee that was a little bit bitter. So what we're gonna do this time is go down to 85 degrees Celsius and do everything else the same. If we're still getting some of that astringency, we'll then go down to 80 degrees Celsius, doing everything else the same. By then, I'm hoping that I'll be able to determine if other things need to change, if the temperature is the main factor, but we will see. So this is grind setting 30 on the Comandante. We are going to do actually 16 grams in this time, since I also said that the 15 grams from last time produced a coffee that was a little bit watery and hollow. So we're gonna do 16 grams in, 150 grams out still at 85 degrees Celsius. I'm well aware that I need a better coffee storage solution than just putting it back in the box. So coffee storage canister will be my next purchase. Please don't come for me. I also, for consistency's sake, decided to do 10 stirs every time, and also to press for about 15 seconds every time. So here is our 85 degrees Celsius coffee. And while I'm here, I'm going to quickly make another one at 80 degrees Celsius just so I can more directly compare them right here on the spot. I'm not noticing a huge difference between these, but I'm gonna give them another try. The 80 degrees is definitely more acidic, and I can't decide if it's all acidity or if there is a little bit of sourness to this one. But the 85 has a little bit of an astringent aftertaste, so I'm really not sure what the solution is here. I might try to brew at 80 degrees, keep the temperature low, but maybe grind my beans a little bit finer. That's something I'm definitely gonna have to play with, because neither of these are the competition cup by any means. Okay, 25 setting on the Comandante, 80 degrees Celsius, 16 grams in, 150 grams out this time at 90 seconds. Better. Still not ideal, but certainly better. Before I shut this down for the day, I also forgot to say that Onyx is shipping out a sample of the competition beans to practice with. I'm not sure when they'll be getting here, but it's supposed to be relatively soon. Why I've started this so early and not just waited until I've had the beans is I feel like I right now am so far off in the ether and so untethered that I want to find at least a general recipe and get a general idea of what works and what doesn't before I start to use the actual competition beans. So the plan is maybe for the rest of this week to experiment wildly like I have been today. And once I start to narrow down some factors, then the actual competition beans will come into play. This entire time I've kind of been making assumptions and practicing with this really light roast fruity floral bean because I think it'll be easier to taste complexity and nuance in a lighter roast. So I am thinking / hoping that they end up using a lighter roast. This morning off camera, I did something super crazy and actually made something really good. The coffee was so much better than the other ones that I've been trying that I'm thinking I want to maybe implement some of the things that I've done. The only complaint that I had about this was that the flavors were still slightly hollow. So what I'm gonna do is try this again at a competition ratio. So I'm gonna do a 25 grind setting, water temperature of 80. I'm going to go ahead and up my dose to 17 grams, as with 15 and 16, I never once have I gotten a coffee that has felt as flavorful as I want it to be. So I'm gonna do 17 grams in, and then I'm going to stick to that 150 gram yield. But instead of putting all 150 grams into the Aeropress to brew, I'm gonna brew it as a concentrate with 75 grams of water and then pour up to 150 afterward. I'm not sure if that has any effect on the flavor at all, but I was so taken aback by how much better this morning coffee was that I will try anything I possibly can. And on top of all of that, I'm going to try this recipe with 3 different coffees. One being the Onyx that I've been practicing with, the tropical weather, one being the coffee from this morning, and another one just so that I can familiarize myself a little bit with what these flavor notes might taste like with a recipe like this. I'm gonna do this medium roast that has a more traditional kind of nutty, less acidic, less fruity. It says chocolate, nutty, caramel, molasses, and cherry as its flavor profile. And I'm gonna go with that recipe. We're gonna try all 3 of these coffees and just compare. And I'm going to see / hope if maybe across coffees I have some good developed flavors. I'm gonna try each one of these hot, fresh out of the kettle, and then I'm gonna try them again all together once they've all cooled down. So this is our first one, which is the Onyx again that I've been practicing with the tropical weather. Much better. You can definitely taste more acidity in this one than in the first one. The flavors are becoming clearer for sure. It's interesting that most of the winning recipes from a long time ago used to be, you know, in the 20s and 30s dose-wise. And it's funny to me that they limited the dose to 18. I see why they would have done that, because I think just by upping the dose, so much more flavor comes through, and it's an interesting challenge to bring that amount of flavor through with a smaller dose. I started brewing this, I was thinking about what I just said, wanting to get more of the flavors out. And one variable that I've never messed with is brew time. Every time I've ever brewed an Aeropress, it's been for 90 seconds. Maybe with these lighter roasts, I'll try doing everything else the same, because again, I think I'm really close, but just extending my brew time a little bit. Not drastically, maybe even 100 seconds, 120 seconds. Anything that would just coax a little bit more flavor out of these coffees, because they're so aromatic and they're so flavorful when you brew with a higher dose. And I just really want that to translate to what I'm serving at the competition without burning the crap out of my coffee. So that will probably be my next variable. Also, this medium roast is smelling so much different. I think we're about to learn a lot with this one here. I'm trying to gather my thoughts because I don't know how to describe this, but it's not at all bad. It's not as different as I thought it was gonna be. I'm getting a lot of acidity out of this. This is so interesting. Hold on. Medium dark body, creamy and smooth finish. Medium acidity, fruit forward. Chocolate, nutty, caramel, molasses, and cherry tasting notes. And this is a washed from Mexico. So interesting. This is tasting so much fruitier. If I were making this particular roast for a competition, I would probably up my temperature a little bit, which I was not expecting to say. I know that typically the lighter the roast, the more extraction it needs. My mentality behind all of this has been to emphasize the flavors though, instead of doing anything that could compete with them or contradict them. So for lighter roasted, more acidic coffees, I've tried to emphasize the acidity as much as I can without under extracting and making it sour. And I think that I would apply the same thing if I were making something like this that were supposed to be a little bit fuller bodied. I would probably extract a little bit more to emphasize that. Although I do really like this as a less extracted coffee. Learning lots here today. Tasting these three coffees, there are no offensive flavors in any of these. All of them are relatively good. I think aside from just wanting the flavors to come through a little bit more, which again will be my last huge hurdle, my last major variable to work on, I think I'm relatively close. So I have been practicing a lot off camera, and I think I have the recipe that I'm gonna use fairly dialed in. Now it's basically time to start working on the minutia. We are exactly 1 week before the competition. I'm so so stressed out. I could have used a lot more time, but that's okay. Again, this is my first competition. I do not expect to do well. It's a learning experience. Essentially, what I'm going to try to make this next couple days about is really practicing the little details of my routine. So lately I've noticed that I'm having a lot of trouble pouring the exact dose of water that I want. So if the intended dose is 75 grams, sometimes it'll be 73 grams, sometimes it'll be 76, sometimes it'll be 80. It's kind of all across the board. I am gonna sit here and pour 80 grams over and over and over and over until it's second nature and until I can do it without really looking. He's gonna be my good luck charm while I learn to pour the correct dose of water. Jack, we're a week away from the competition. She's over basically to taste these coffees and tell me if they are good or if they suck. And we're near the end of our second coffee, so she's gonna taste it and we're just gonna talk about the differences between the first one, which was 17 grams in, and the second one, which was 17.5, because the only note she had with the first one was that it tasted a little bit watery. And I don't want to go all the way up to 18 because I feel like that's just riding a very thin, scary margin. So I hope this makes a difference. We're gonna see. And I've gotten my second carafe out now, so the goal is to get the temperature down as much as possible before serving it to the judges. And we just discovered that this makes a really big difference. Okay, where are we at?
I can smell more to it now.
Nice.
Yeah. It definitely can taste more going on.
That's crazy that half a gram makes that big of a difference.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yeah, I'm gonna try both too. I'm gonna put this back over here.
This one is, I can taste, oh shit.
Uh-oh.
I feel like I can taste more of the fruity in this one though.
In the first one?
And then this one I just taste more coffee.
Keep in mind though that the first one's temperature is significantly lower than the second one, so the flavors are coming out more.
That's the new one.
So while I brew the medium roast, because the beans are still not here, while I brew the medium roast, we'll wait for this to cool down too.
Okay.
This is the new one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little more
That's
coffee
so
to
bizarre.
it. Is it wild?
I am getting more acidity out of the first one, but I wonder if it's not because
It's
the
cool,
temperature.
cooled off. Yeah, we'll let it cool off and see. I like this one more though,
I think so
because it's got a little more to it.
yeah.
But nutty caramel ones is cherry. Yeah. This is.
So hopefully, since you drink this kind of coffee like every day,
And
you'll
smell
be
it?
able to, go for
Yeah.
it. You'll like really be able to taste if the notes are there or not.
I do smell chocolate. I don't know if I like to smell those beans as much as I like to smell this.
I don't either. I feel like once you start on the light roast fruity track, it's just so hard to go back with a black coffee.
Yep.
And I still like for espresso, I brew stuff that's like that. It's nutty and chocolatey. But
Yeah.
for for a black coffee.
I like it the smell better now that it dark. Okay. A little sour, but I do like that one a lot.
Okay.
These are still better. Maybe it's just because it's now dark roast. Now I'm like, tastes not as good to me. I can really taste the fruit now that it's cooled off.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah,
This one's just not as good. I mean,
is that what it is?
I don't.
It's just not,
I don't know.
like it's sour. It's just really don't
I
like
don't know
it.
that. I don't know if the coffee is not as good, because I'm tasting less complexity, and
Yeah.
I hear what she's saying with the sour. It's reading to me like it's more acidity, but there could be a little sourness to it also, which confirms people say to extract light roast more, but I like to highlight the characteristics of the roast with the way that I brew it. So I typically extract light roast less, which might be considered crazy. But with this, so if the beans are a medium roast, I would definitely lean extracting more, like doing a finer grind to highlight the characteristics of the roast and have less acidity.
Yeah.
Because it also tastes super hollow. So if it's a medium roast.
Yeah. Like I don't taste the same fruity, like, and I know the beans are different, so it's, but.
Yeah, then this would have to be, okay, so what I'll probably do is brew one more cup of this, of the medium, and do like maybe a 22 setting on the grinder, see where that gets us.
Yep, try it.
Or maybe a 20 setting and keep the temperature the same.
What did you do different? You
This is the finer grind size. Yeah, so this is at a 20 setting.
Not as good.
It's gross. so I'm just gonna stick.
It's not gross.
I'm gonna stick with the same recipe. So basically, no matter what the beans are, I think that most consistently doing 17.5 gram dose, doing 80 to brew it with, and then 80 more, passing it back and forth between the carafes 10 times. Like that's final recipe, final answer. All right, y'all. I just got home from work and finally got the beans. I'm super excited. I just took them out of the box. I haven't really given them a good smell. I haven't opened them. I wanted to do this on camera because I wanted to share this experience. I'm super nervous. From what I can smell, I am smelling fruity, which is really exciting because that's what I've been preparing for, but I'm also smelling a heavier, richer, rounder smell. I'm smelling a little bit of chocolate. I'm very, very curious to see what the roast level of these beans are because, like you guys have seen, I've prepped for a light roast this entire time, and the presence of the chocolatey smell, it's freaking me out a little bit. So let's crack this bag open and see what we're working with. This does look darker than a lot of the things that I've been working with, but seeing that it's still on the lighter half of the spectrum gives me a little bit of hope. I'm gonna give these another good sniff now that I've got the bag open. This is so interesting. I would say chocolate is probably the dominant thing that I'm smelling, and fruit is secondary. I'm really curious to brew a cup of this. I'm glad that we're still in semi-familiar territory. Since I have such a limited amount, I decided I'm going to try to cup this coffee at home myself before making a proper Aeropress brew of it because I really want to know what I'm tasting. I have only ever been to one cupping. I've never attempted to cup myself. I just did some research. On Fellow's website, they said do 9 grams at a coarse grind, so I'm gonna do 30 on the Commandante, 200 Fahrenheit, which is 93 degrees Celsius, 150 grams of water, and after 4 minutes, take off the crust, then let it cool and taste it. So we're gonna do that. That's probably all I'm gonna do tonight because I don't wanna drink a bunch of coffee and be up all night. It's like 7 p.m. Seeing that these beans are so much darker than anything I've been practicing with has scared the hell out of me. And, you know, it's a learning experience. I'm definitely learning a lot, and my confidence in my ability to do well at all dwindles by the minute, but that's okay. It's about the experience, and boy am I having an experience. Smelling really interesting. This is still an acidic coffee, thank God. It's so much fruitier now that I actually taste it. There is still chocolate in here. There's still some kind of round element to it that was not in some of my practice coffees. But this is tasting a little closer to what I was expecting. It's good. It's a great coffee. I don't know what this is, Onyx, but I really like it. Okay, we're gonna keep tasting as this cools down. This gives me a little more hope for sure. I wish there was a way to accurately describe what I'm tasting. It's really layered. I think it's a great choice for a competition coffee for sure because it's not straightforward. I wanna know how they describe this because I feel like once they reveal the notes, I'm gonna sound like an idiot. But that's what I'm tasting. It's like a very kind of berry-ish, fruity taste and chocolate. This is a coffee that I would absolutely buy. Let's see if I can brew it. This is gonna be the quickest little video ever because I've gotta go to work. But I just brewed an Aeropress with beans for the first time and I really wanted to try it on camera. Oh, thank God. This is actually good. Okay, here, Scott's gonna try some.
Give some.
Get in frame, bestie.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Very fruity.
I am finally opening my third carafe because I think I reached a little bit of a breakthrough this morning and I wish I would have recorded the process of making the coffee, but I didn't. So when I tried the competition coffee initially, the main thing that I was tasting and that other people were tasting was that the coffee A was still feeling a little bit hollow, and also that the coffee got a lot better as it cooled down. And I think I only filmed my initial tasting of the coffee. And when I initially tasted the coffee, I did taste a little bit of bitterness, astringency on the back end. But as the coffee started to cool down, that went away completely. And once it reached room temperature, it was very, very acidic with no astringency at all. So I decided that I'm not gonna mess with the grind size or the brew temperature, and instead I'm gonna focus on getting the coffee cooled much more by the time I serve it than I had been doing before. So what I tried this morning was everything the same, except I did up my dose to 18 grams, which solved the hollowness issue. The coffee was very flavorful, very full-bodied. You could really taste the notes. And I heated the water to 80 degrees to brew the Aeropress with. Then while the Aeropress was brewing, I dumped that water out, poured more water in and heated it to 55. And there were two problems with that. A, the coffee was still a little cold by the time I served it, doing half 80 and then half 55. And B, the time crunch and panic that I felt waiting for this to heat up to 55 while this brewed was terrifying. And I really don't want it to be that down to the wire because it really was down to almost the second. I think it actually heated to 55 like a second or two before it was time to flip the Aeropress over. And I just don't want to live like that, you know? So what I'm gonna do is open up this third carafe and I'm going to heat the water to 80 and brew with 80, but while I'm brewing, I'm gonna have the water in a third carafe cooling down the entire time this is brewing. And I'm gonna measure, I just got a new thermometer because we lost our other one in the move. I'm gonna measure how much this cools down in the time that it takes to brew this Aeropress, and we're just gonna go from there. My goal is that it doesn't get as low as 55, but I also want it to cool down quite a bit. If it got to, I don't know, maybe 65-ish, I'd be really happy. I'm absolutely hoping and praying that this will be the final experimentation clip and that this will be the recipe. I hope, because we are solidly less than a week away. So send good vibes my way, even though you'll be watching this far after the fact, and let's see what happens. Okay, temperature-wise, this is just about perfect. Taste, this is really not that bad. I don't think I was very far off, but I'm pretty happy with this. I think once I brew the whole thing correctly, this will probably be it. Good morning. There are only a few practice days left for me before the competition, so my house is officially on an espresso-free lockdown, and I'm now making our morning coffees with my Aeropress recipe out of the beans. I'm going to practice now 3 times in a row. Hopefully it'll be clean. Definitely felt a little bit messy. I am sure you saw me scrambling around looking for my thermometer and then almost rinsing my filters, but not because I ran out of time. So this is what this period is all about. Hopefully in the next couple of times I can make this a little bit cleaner. And then after today, I will just be practicing this over and over again with a different set of beans. But you see how messy this is right now. Hopefully it will not look or feel this way very, very soon. As you can see, I just discovered another problem. I didn't consider water retention by the grounds, and when I had poured 15 grams more than I meant to pour, and I decided that I was going to weigh the final product of that because I don't know why it suddenly popped in my mind that water retention would be a thing, but I decided to weigh it and see, and that was right on the line of the minimum amount of water that you can serve. So what I'm gonna do is pull the competition beans out again and still brew with 80, but then pour 100 more grams in from the carafe at the end, and hopefully that will put us where we need to be. That worked really well. My final measurement was 160, so not gonna get disqualified, but let's see if this still tastes okay. Okay, that didn't make that big of a difference, thank God. My only complaint about this really, because there's no sourness, there's no astringency, you can taste the notes in the coffee, like everything's tasting good. My only complaint is that there is this weird dry paperiness in the background that I initially assumed was the filters not being rinsed, so I did start rinsing my filters. It didn't make a difference at all. I'm thinking it's probably our water. The venue, which is connected to Onyx, is letting us use their cold brew coffee water, and I'm just going to have faith that they obviously know a lot more than me and have definitely spent a lot of time developing the water, and hope that that is the cause of that kind of papery dry taste, and that their water is 1,000 times better than ours, which I know it will be. So I think as far as me messing with the minutia and messing with all of these factors, this probably is the final recipe. All of these runs have been really clean, knock on wood. I hope I continue some really clean practice runs. This was my last practice session before going to Arkansas, and I'll have like a day and a half prior to the competition to practice a little bit up there. So I'll film some of that. I'll keep you updated for sure. But I think I'm going in a pretty good place for my first competition, for knowing very, very little. I'm sure I'm gonna learn so much from the people there and the people that end up doing really well. I'm gonna ask the winners a lot of questions for sure. This has been a really fun, interesting learning experience. I definitely underestimated the amount of prep work that goes into even more casual coffee competitions like this, and it sparked my interest even more. This is absolutely something that I'm gonna keep doing. But yeah, this kind of concludes the at-home practice, figuring out my recipe portion of the video. All right, I'm at my parents' house in Arkansas. The competition is day after tomorrow, and because I absolutely cannot leave things alone, I'm experimenting with water. I really thought I wasn't going to, but there was a papery taste that was really pervasive in every brew that I've made, and hopefully this will be my solution. So I've got some Fiji water and some Smart water. I was looking it up. Both of these already have minerals added to them, so I'm not gonna worry about my water additives. I did bring them with me just in case, but we're gonna run a test run of my brew with each of these and see if it makes any difference. And my parents are gonna be the taste testers. Oh, that's way better. Nice, okay. Come join me. This is my mom. Here's the coffee.
Okay. Oh, that's good.
So give me feedback on it. Is there anything, so the main things that we're tasting for is, can you taste the notes in the coffee, which I'm assuming are primarily chocolate and berry? And also, is there any marked sourness, astringency, or bitterness?
I taste the berry. With the aftertaste, I taste the chocolate.
And that's something that I could be totally making up, but I just want to make sure that you are having like a layered flavor experience and it doesn't just taste like muddy, generic coffee.
No, the chocolate definitely is an aftertaste. The berry is what hits first.
Cool.
No bitterness. I mean, it's pretty smooth.
Cool. And then I'll have you taste it again when it's cooled down, because the judges, it looks like for 8 minutes they're going to be tasting it, so it's going to be at different temperatures. But
Yes.
just making sure that this initial temperature is good, like it's pleasant.
It's good.
Nothing super wrong with it.
No, it's very smooth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, we've got our Smart Water coffee, and this is just fresh off the brew. Trying to figure out if this one isn't a little brighter than the other one.
These are the same beans?
Same method, same everything. The only difference
water.
is the water.
It's almost more sweet.
Okay.
The initial hit.
Is a little brighter. That's what I was thinking too.
It's a little more sweet. This seemed a tad bitter.
As opposed to that, okay.
To me.
Which feels brighter, which I think I'm with you. And if you're tasting that, then it's really obvious. Like, no.
Because I don't know anything about
I
coffee.
don't know anything about coffee. She's a Keurig girly.
Give me a pod.
And there's nothing wrong with a Keurig girly, but it's nice to have a Keurig girly on your tasting team, because if you're tasting the difference, like, that means that it's really obvious, which is, I feel like I drive myself crazy, like, with all of the minutia of everything.
This is different.
Yeah, it is different.
This is.
And you're leaning that one?
This is cleaner. It just doesn't. If that. It
Yeah.
just.
It does
It
feel
tastes more crisp, and it has less of a lingering.
You're absolutely right.
I don't think that's as bitter. I think this has got a smidget of a bitter.
Yeah, and this one it's bright with the Smart Water. It's really bright.
Yeah, see,
That's
this one
crazy.
is more bitter.
It is.
This
and
one's got a slight bitter.
This one is cooler too. So you should be tasting way more brightness in this one. If this one's way hotter and you're tasting more brightness, then I can't imagine what this is going to be like when they're cold.
I like that.
I think I'm leaning Smart Water.
I would not have thought that the water would make a difference.
I'm leaning. Yeah, that's.
I think the water makes a
Yeah,
difference.
Smart Water. Cool. Done. That's the final recipe, final answer. I'll see you guys in the video of the actual competition. I think this is it on prep work because prep work is done.
On the landscape you need to see. You're the